The Board of Public Works meeting special meeting to order on March 14th, 2024. Could you please call the roll?
Commissioner Lemon?
Here.
Commissioner Espedia?
Here.
Mayor Donches?
Here. And we have two
Missing.
people absent.
Commissioner Shea is not feeling well, so he won't be here, and Commissioner Gregg will just be a little bit late.
So next we have public comment. Is there any member of the public who wishes to speak to the Board of Public Works? All right. No one comes forward, so we'll go to budget discussion. I assume that's being led by Director Photo. So let's begin with that.
Thank you, Mayor. So we're here to present our fiscal year 25 budget. The mayor gave us a directive of a 4% increase. We have met that directive. Our administration and engineering department budget is $1,543,610. Our street department budget is $7,154,363. Parks and Recreation is $3,636,122. That is a $527,664 increase over last year. Most of that is contractual increases. We did not have a lot to work with, but we think we're presenting a budget that we're comfortable with. A couple of notes: we do not have any purchasing guidelines yet, so those have not been included, so our fuel and utilities could be adjusted a little bit. This also does not include a transfer of the cartograph software that Public Works use exclusively into our budget. IT is transferring all software that is used exclusively by one division into their budget, so those are not included. Our enterprise funds, solid waste, you'll notice a very large increase, and about an $11.5 million increase. That is because of our phase 4 landfill construction. In the enterprise accounts, any bonds like that are put into the operational budget. So that's why that is so high, but that is offset by revenue. And I also want to bring your attention to our general fund transfer to solid waste, which is actually down by $560,000 or 9%, which is great. Our wastewater budget is $28,816,529, and that reflects a 14% increase. A lot of the increases too in solid waste and wastewater, as usual, are because of our permits, and we don't have a choice but to do some of the things we're doing. So with that, what we'd like to do is start in the order of your packet, and we'll begin with administration and engineering, and I'll turn it over to Dan Hudson.
Thank you, Director. Dan Hudson, City Engineer. I will start on page 2, speaking to revenue. So in the 160 section, only a few items here that we gained revenue from. Those are listed, no real changes from last year. I'll skip to page 6 to talk about expenses. As the Director noted, under 51 series, salary and wages, most of that is contractual. We did bump up intern a little bit, just to try to make rates match to the current market. Fringe benefits under 52, also contractual items. 53 professional and technical services, that's where we do some miscellaneous engineering services out of. Something comes up throughout the year, we'll contract under that. Although this shows nothing today, we just barely contracted some effort, so that line is critical to us, but also level funded. Property services, under 54 section there, includes the various utilities and building and vehicular maintenance. On the next page, other services is a variety of things. you know, telephone, cellular, that sort of thing, conferences, seminars. So a few changes there, nothing of major significance though. Supplies and materials under 61, again, nearly level funded. But that's for office supplies, clothing, fuel, publications, subscriptions, all those things. And then under equipment, we don't buy a lot of equipment under this budget, but there are a variety of things. We have pieces of survey equipment and engineering tools, computer software, furniture, fixtures, that sort of thing. So budget lines for that are there, level funded. So with that, I'd be happy to address any questions.
So do any of the commissioners have any questions or comments on the engineering section of the budget?
No.
Go ahead. Yeah.
We'll move to the street department, Superintendent Ibera.
Thank you, Director. Photo. John Ibarra, Superintendent of Streets. I'll start off on page 3 in the agenda. It's the miscellaneous revenue, sale of equipment, if we auction off anything, snow towing, that's included in the revenue, and miscellaneous small tool sales. And moving into the operating budget on page 9, salaries and wages, there was a couple little changes there. Most of this is contractual obligation, same with the fringe benefits. But you will notice 51.4 is a temporary seasonal. We bumped that up based on historical data and what we paid the last seasonal laborer. And then there's a stipend line that was also contractual based on the last contract signed for tools for the mechanics, an allowance for them. Property services, that's our utilities, janitorial services, pest control, HVAC, signing, striping, those items there. We did bump electrical a little bit, but we are working on the purchasing guidelines, waiting to hear on that. So that could move, like the director alluded to. So we bumped the pest control services of 54228, just to include the fleet end of the building down at streets. We have a little rodent issue down there. And then HVAC maintenance, 54243. We increased that line based on historical repairs on our 1978 boiler. Moving on to property services, 54, on page 10. That's covering our office equipment, AVL monitoring, vehicle repairs, towing services, equipment rental, stuff like that. We did increase the vehicle repair and maintenance on 54,600, 25,000. That's due to the increase in cost of parts. Other services, 55 line. You will see telephone, cellular, conference, seminars, and employee training. Employee training, we bumped from 3,500 to 10,500. We have a lot of new employees, and a lot of the training is safety-based. So we got to cover getting those guys up to speed and minimize any injury. Page 11, 61, supplies and materials. That's janitorial supplies, asphalt, salt, sand, gravel, loam, traffic signal, and construction material. Based on the usage on the natural gas, we did reduce that line from 20,000 to 10,000. Again, waiting to see what the purchasing guidelines will come out, but that should be sufficient there. We did increase 61535 gravel loam based on our historical usage of gravel. Last year, we had a really wet year. We used a lot more gravel. We did sewer work, drain work, and repairing shoulders of the roads. Meals, 61900, we increased that with increased training and seminars and events in the winter where we try and keep the guys here to work. We find we always go a little over what we had budgeted there for food. So we bumped that up from 1,200 to 2,500. Line 71, equipment, that's small tools and computer software, office equipment, miscellaneous equipment. That's a significant bump on 71228, the computer software. That's fleet-based and also traffic-based, increasing from 18,750 to 58,750. And that's all I have for changes. If there's any questions, be happy to answer them.
Commissioner Lemon.
I have a question. So under line item 61542, signs, so you proposed again 38,000, even though you only used 14,785. I mean, I'm just curious.
Every year, you do not know whether it's natural disasters taking signs,
Oh, okay,
vandalism, accidents, so it's unpredictable what we're
Okay.
actually gonna use. But we have expired that line in the past.
okay. Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, let's go on to the next.
Parks and Recreation, Superintendent Connor.
Thank you, Director Cohen. Good evening, good afternoon, everyone. Brian Cohen, Superintendent of Parks and Recreation Department. The two-digit line, 51, salary and wages, those are just full-time wages, contractual obligations. Same thing with line item 52, fringe benefits. When we get into 53, professional technical services, we use that for a couple different things, soil tests, and consulting services, landscape design, things of that nature. 54, there are a couple increases under this I want to touch on. 54253, 54253, tree removal services. We are going from 10,000 to 25,000. I'm asking for this additional increase. There's a lot of tree calls that we get, that I get. I know that we went through the board of aldermen this past year and asked for an additional $25,000. And we've expended that money in the $10,000 that we had originally budgeted. So I think we've proven that there is a need for those funds.
All right, just excuse me for a minute. So Commissioner Gregg arrived, so that should be in the minutes, please. All right, go ahead.
Absolutely, thank you. But other than that, under 54, there's a lot of utility things. Excuse me, I jumped over one line. 54250, pool repairs and maintenance. That's going from 4,000 to 10,000. That increase is really just due to inflation. You know, we have 3 pools, a wading pool, and a splash pad, and we use that line item to buy, repair, and maintain a lot of the systems that make those pools run. Let's go over to the next page, page 14. Vehicle repairs and maintenance, line item 54600 is going to be increased from $10,600 to $20,000. This is really just to cover the price of inflation. Cost of parts are constantly increasing, just like food at the grocery store. Let's see, 55, other services. There's a cellular communication line in there, 55118. That's really to operate our central irrigation system that we install. We have 14 different parks that we can manage the water systems online, and in order to be able to do that, we need this cellular communication piece. So that is why that is so high. I just wanted to explain that. The other things in here, employee training, concerts, travel, the fireworks. There are just a lot of things that recreation uses to put on a lot of the events that everybody enjoys throughout the year. Category 61, supplies and materials. I think the one thing I'd like to speak to on that is 61156, chemicals. Those are pool chemicals, chlorine, lots of different chemicals that go into maintaining these pools. Again, the cost on that increases, and that's why I've asked for the $25,000 line to go to $30,000. There are a couple changes in there I think you'd like to speak to.
Yep, the line above that line, 6112, recreational supplies. We've increased that quite a bit because our costs have gone up for the years. Everything from trophies to basketballs to softball, baseball equipment. And and we just need to offset the increases due to inflation and other supply issues.
61, supplies and materials, there's some fuel line in there, tires, vehicle parts and supplies. I think that line item is pretty self-explanatory. And equipment, the big number, I guess, that jumps out there is park equipment, it's $100,000. I advocated for that last year. Originally, there was only $14,000 in this budget. We have about $500,000 worth of equipment that does not get on the surf list. You have to have a $50,000 benchmark to meet that criteria. And that's why that big number is in there. I'd be happy to answer any questions if there are any.
What kind of equipment are you talking about for park equipment that's different from playground equipment?
So in the park, the playground equipment, Commissioner Lemon, would be for playground equipment, like a
Right,
slide,
right.
swing set, things of that nature. When we get into park equipment, that's really for the equipment we use to maintain
Maintain,
parks.
okay.
I hope that answers your question.
It does. I have
And-
one.
Go ahead,
I'm sorry.
go ahead.
My other question is, for the temporary seasonal wages, are you getting people, because I know it's a whole battle right now with wages, everybody is seeing it.
Lauren, would you like to speak to that?
Yes, we're doing very well with lifeguards this year.
Great.
Yeah, it's looking very, very good, very early on. So
Oh,
very
okay.
excited.
Because I was concerned that if the wages weren't enough, you wouldn't get people.
We made an adjustment last year, and I think that's made a difference.
Great. Thank you.
And anyone else have any questions or comments? Didn't we escrow 114,000 for the equipment?
230.
230,000. But we still have how much to go?
Those were, let me say this correctly. Some of the pieces of equipment on there, Mayor, replacing old pieces of equipment that the department already had. And some of those pieces have, the department's never had. It was me wanting to take what we do to a higher standard.
But and you're thinking we have how much left in terms of the small equipment not covered by surf?
Last year was roughly around $500,000, I think, was the big time.
740,000.
Sorry, excuse me.
740,000.
We budgeted 100,000 this current year, and we're proposing 100 next year.
All right. Anybody else have questions or comments? Why don't we go on then to, what, the enterprise funds?
To the enterprise funds, that's correct. You don't have anything else in terms of recreation? Okay. Did you want to speak to anything, or? No, you're okay. All right, so then we'll move to solid waste. Superintendent LaFleur.
Thank you. Jeff LaFleur, Superintendent Solid Waste. We'll go to page 18, just the revenues. It's as you can see, we can go over them real quickly. 43 is intergovernmental revenues. 44 charges for services, that's our cover materials, any of the monies that come into the city for all that. Miscellaneous revenues, other financial sources, and interfund transfers. If you go over to page 20. Actually, I'm gonna skip over to page 21 real quick. I wanna outline something that was miswritten in the budget book. 55 other services. If you go down to 55400 and 55421, the first one, the 55400, it shows $19,800 in there. That's an incorrect one. We're only gonna jump that up to $4,500. That's our seminars and conferences. That gets us some extra CEUs for our, certifications that we hold. And then the one just below it, I'm gonna go up about $5,000 to $12,000 on that. And the reason why nothing's really being taken out of it yet is the timing. Most of our certifications come up in the spring, so we're working on those right now to pay those off. Sorry for that jump ahead. I just wanted to make sure you guys saw that one right away. Page 20, let's go back to that one, and I can go through these real quick. You've already seen 51 salaries and wages. You've already heard that 3 times. It's all contractual. Same thing with 52, fringe benefits, that's contractual. 5,300. That's the professional technical services, architects and engineering, 53107. That's my big one. That's the engineering for the landfill. Anything that needs to be done with the landfill, I have that subbed out. We want to have a third party going over that, make sure we're doing everything properly with DES. 5.4, property services, just like everyone else has been stating, it's all contractual, so it's electrical, water, janitorial, that type of stuff. Page 21, back to that page. 54, property services, buildings and grounds, just like what it says, we have a lot of work to be done in the landfill. There's stuff that needs to be repaired. We're always doing something here. That's also where I get my gravel, actually gravel's out of my construction, another one down. Buildings and grounds, all the buildings are getting old. You're gonna see some new repairs being done to my recycling area. We're gonna do some construction over there. Vehicle repairs, 54600, that went up a little bit. My arms on my automated trucks are getting worn out pretty good. They go up about 1,000 times a day. So they get worn out really quick. I'm gonna buy a brand new arm this year, so we can take one off of a truck, rebuild it, and then put the arm back on another truck, so we'll always have an extra arm ready to roll. Doing repairs to these arms could take a month at a time, and we can't afford to have a truck down for that long. 5.5, other services, same thing, telephone, dues and memberships, that type of stuff, and I already explained the training and the CEUs. The big line in that one is the other contracted services. That's where all of our, recycling, we pay out, anything that goes out of the landfill that we have to pay for, that's where that comes from. 6.1, supplies and materials, kind of the same thing we've been talking about, clothing and uniforms, protective, medical type stuff, that's to have on hand here in the city for any of my employees working. Construction materials, 61560, that's a lot of my well collectors. When we do surface collectors on our own, we buy the pipe to do that, so that's where that major part of the money comes from on that one. Equipment, 7,100, that's computer software, computer equipment, and also repairs to my landfill equipment, like my FID that I have to do surface scans with, our GEM that does all of our tuning of our wells. Those are really expensive pieces of equipment, and we need to have those, calibrated time to time. And then debt service, that's just for our, bonds and everything that we take out. 8,100, capital improvements, that's, you're gonna see the $12 million right there. That the big bulk of that is gonna be my phase 4 landfill construction. That way we can gain our airspace and have, 30, 40 plus years of airspace left. And other than that, the rest is just budget adjustments for the city. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Commissioner Lemon.
I'm trying to find out which page it's on. It's the revenue. So,
Yep. Page 18.
18?
Yep.
Okay. Oh, sale of recyclables is at, you budget for 220,000, but I assume that number is just gonna keep going down, right?
Well, no, that's for our, when we sell our recycling toters and stuff like that, so as people will keep buying them, so
Oh,
that's where
Okay.
it fluctuates.
But it's not actual, other than that, it's not actual material. Like, we don't get much money from like the sale of, I don't know.
Yeah, our single stream recycling, no, we're actually paying for that, so that,
Okay.
it's just a budgeted amount, just in case the markets change and
Okay,
fluctuate.
so that's for the toters and things like that. Okay, thank you.
All right, now we will go on to wastewater.
Dave Boucher, wastewater superintendent. I'll start with revenues on page 27. Major one here in section 44, changes for services. Covers things like sewer user charges. There's an increase there based on recent approvals of rates. Septage fees, we have septage brought to the wastewater facility. We charge the haulers. Pre-treatment testing and fees. We test industries throughout the city, make sure they're not discharging anything they shouldn't be to us. Under 45, miscellaneous revenues, things like scrap metal, broken castings and that, we get some income back for scrapping that. Hudson capital contributions, contributions from Hudson, we do receive some of their flow at the wastewater facility. And there's other financial sources as well, general obligation, there's a jump there to reflect the capital projects we have. And then the other financial sources for the wastewater net assets. And I'll go to the page 29. Under salaries and wages, contractual obligations for the full-time wages. I do have an increase in the overtime wages for things, our facility is required to be staffed 24/7. Second, third shift, it's minimal staff, weekends, minimal staff, so if someone's sick, we have to fill that position. We also have after-hours sewer complaints that we have to respond to, so it covers that. Under 52, fringe benefits, also contractual. 53, professional technical services. This is also contractual obligations. 54, property services. Just like the other departments, this is for the basic utilities at the wastewater facility. 54, property services. Some of the larger items on here are disposal services. This is for the biosolids that are generated at the wastewater facility that we have to ship off-site and manage. So we hire a contract company to do that for us. Under 55, other services, things like telephone, postage, stuff like that. But we also have increase on 55400, 55421, conferences, seminars, employee trainings. Our employees are required to be certified by the state, and they have to maintain their certifications by attending classes, getting their credit hours for it. Other contracted services under this one, 55699, little increase there. This is professional services we bring in to maintain our HVAC system, boilers, generators, things like that. Will require specialty tools that we don't have. 61, supplies and materials, things like uniforms. We have a certified laboratory, needs supplies, janitorial supplies. Under this one, there's an increase in the 61156 account. Chemicals, throughout the wastewater facility, we use bulk chemicals for disinfection and polymers for removing the sludge. So we're projecting increases in mostly the polymer, and we purchase most of our chemicals through a consortium to get the best rates. Under 68, other expenses, reserve for replacements. 71, equipment, this is what we use to buy our smaller equipment, small tools, computer needs. And then the debt services. This is for new debt services. On the 81, capital outlay improvements for all the capital projects and that. We have increased infrastructure improvements, the 81,700. Some of the bigger projects that we have going on. We have a phase 1 project at the wastewater plant, doing a lot of repairs, concrete repairs, replacing equipment. It's also for outside in the street as well, doing some manhole rehabilitation, sewer rehabilitation, things like that. And then 89, transfer property casualty. That's about it. I can answer any questions if you have any.
Commissioner Gregg.
In the 2024 available budget for infrastructure improvements, it says the line item, you have a line item of 43 million on the available budget, but we've only gone through 2.2.
And what now? What page?
I'm sorry, page 32.
Okay.
Is that a typo?
So, sorry, what was the question again?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm just looking at the numbers under 81,700, that line item. It says you have an adopted budget of 5.7 million, and then you've got an available budget of 43 million, but that we only have actuals through 2024 of 2.2 million. Is that right?
Yeah, Carolyn can answer. I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry.
I'll pass that off to the finance director.
Yes, that's our capital money money that's in there, so though it's broken out into many capital projects.
Sure.
And that could be our bond proceeds that have come in for a project that is underway. So that number gets carried from year to year, and you could see a lot of that spent by the end of the year, or encumbered towards larger projects.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Commissioner Lemon.
I'm just curious, on page 30, 55618, you have bank lockbox services?
Yes, I think this has to do in the finance director can.
Okay.
Yes, that's what the banking for collecting payments and things coming through, so we pay a fee for those.
Oh, okay.
Get that wastewater.
Anything else? All right. Special revenue funds, is that where we are? Yes.
Yeah, that's, yeah.
You want to cover that?
If you'd like to.
Do you want to go over?
Warren Myers Communications and Operation Administrator. 2503, for the revenues, if you look at 44,549, you'll see an increase in that line. It's just because we're adding more trips for the residents to the budget. And that kind of goes with number 55658, banquets and outings. You'll see the same number, both money coming in, money going out for those trips. And otherwise, we did include 2128 under supplies and materials. We did increase our budget there again. That's for our camps and T-shirts, first aid kits, athletic gear. We took out of that fund, and the prices have gone up. Everything else remains very similar to past years.
All right, any questions on this area?
Over the Holman Stadium Events Fund.
One thing you'll see on page 35 is the Holman Stadium Events Fund. This fund was created to take in any money that's created at Holman Stadium, obviously when an event is held there. Currently, right now, it's really just Brew Fest that would fall into that category, the 4th of July event, I guess, but that's not really a money maker, obviously. So, I'd be happy to answer any questions if there are any on this. And if I may, Director Photo, one thing I did skip over was on page 4. I just wanted to touch on briefly is the revenue detail. Under the two-digit 44, it's 44254 concession fees. It used to be for the concession bid that used to be put out over the Stello Stadium. The kitchen over there is really not conducive. It doesn't have a hood vent or anything like that. So, to be honest with you, nobody really wants to use it, and we decided we wouldn't put it out to bid moving forward. And down under the two-digit 45 miscellaneous revenue, the big ones that obviously stand out are the Holman Stadium cell phone tower. There's 2 cell phone towers over there that generate revenue. The same thing, the number of cell phone towers varies, but it's the same thing at Mine Falls and the skateboard park, which is right next to Stello Stadium. So that's where those revenues come from. And with that, I'm all done.
I guess the only thing now, Mayor, is we do have a non-public session.
Okay. Who has the motion for non-public?
Commissioner Lemon.
Commissioner Lemon.
I move by roll call that the board go into non-public session pursuant to RSA 91-A, semicolon 3, 2B, the hiring of any person as a public employee.
And we have to do that by roll call. So could you please call the roll?
Yeah. Commissioner Lemon,
Here.
Commissioner
No,
Gregg,
you got to say yes or no.
Oh, yes.
Commissioner Gregg,
Yes.
Commissioner Esposito,
Yes.
Mayor Donches.
Yes. All right, so we're going to go into non-public session. Are they gonna go back on TV? I don't
We're back on.
know. Okay, all right, Commissioner Lemon.
I move by roll call to seal the minutes of the Board of Public Works Personnel non-public meeting of March 4th, 2024, until such time as the majority of the board votes that the purpose of the confidentiality would no longer be served.
Could you please call the roll, Ms.
Commissioner
Edwards?
Lemon,
Yes.
Commissioner Gregg,
Yes.
Commissioner Espedia,
Yes.
Mayor Donches.
Yes, and the motion passes. So it seems we're at the conclusion of our business, so,
The only, I just.
Go
if I
ahead,
may,
go ahead.
Mayor, I just wanted to mention one other thing. I don't know if we want to vote on the budget this evening or this afternoon.
so we'd like to adopt the budget. So to do that as the proposed budget for Public Works, so to do that, the board needs to move and vote to adopt it. So is there a motion to adopt the budget as proposed?
I move that the Board of Public Works adopt the proposed budget, no, the budget as proposed.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
One thing that I just want to mention is that the mayor does have the authority to make changes to the budget as time goes, and if he decides that he wants to add something or cut something. So we will let you know if that happens, but I did want to bring that up, that the mayor does have that authority.
Before it goes to the
Before
alderman.
it goes to the alderman, correct.
All right, any discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. And is there any other business that should be handled? All right, is there a motion to adjourn?
Well, I was just gonna say
Commissioner
thank you.
Vespitia.
Oh, real quick, I just want to say thank you for getting all the superintendents and staff and for answering any questions that we had, and just, I think it was really well done, and appreciate everybody letting us know about if there were increases, decreases, on what makes sense. So just want to say thank you.
You're welcome.
And I guess I'll motion to adjourn.
All right, the motion is to adjourn. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes, and the meeting of the Public Works, the Board of Public Works is adjourned at 2:26 PM.